Good morning, Hazelwood North Middle School. Sixth graders, we're going to make an African mask today. So you've already done your mini mask, you've done your pre-test, and I'm going to take you through some of the basic steps. The first one is that you've got to kind of press out your slab a little bit, your clay, into a gigantic size cookie shape. And so I'm going to lay this on the table so you can see it. And I'm going to lay it on plastic. I need to move this over just a little bit. I'm going to lay it on plastic so that it doesn't stick to the paper. And with my rolling pin, I'm going to start rolling it out. And remember, the good thing about plastic is that you can turn it as you roll so that you're not always rolling it in the same direction. Now, just before I go too much further, I just want to show you that this is the shape that I made for my mask. This is a sample of a finished ceramic mask. We're going to do ours a little bit differently. We're going to add the eyes to it instead of cutting the eyes out. This is a mini mask that was done as a pre-test. It was also painted, and these eyes were incised, so they were cut out. This was subtractive. This was additive. We are going to be adding the mouth, the nose, and you can choose to cut out the eyes or add the eyes. Since I've already told you all how to cut out the eyes, I'm going to show you how to add them on this one. But the first thing, of course, is to roll out a good slab. And since this is a face shape, we want to keep kind of a rectangular shape going here instead of a square. So as I roll, I have to make sure that I'm maintaining kind of a rectangular shape. It's going to have to accommodate this shape that I've already cut out. So I'm going to roll in this direction so that I can make it longer rather than wider. If you have made a face that's wider, you need to roll yours in that direction. And if I stand over my slab, I have a little bit more control over where it goes. Also, if I don't press down too hard on the clay, I'll avoid having it stick to my rolling pin. Now, I normally say put your hands on the top to roll, but when you get to the end, if you just roll it slightly with the handle, if it spins real easily, that means you have a nice even slab. It's of uniform thickness. Now, on your table, you have a piece of ceramic tile that you're going to use as your guide to see if your slab is about the right thickness. If you get any thinner, I'll turn it over so you can see the difference here really well. If your slab at any time gets thinner than this ceramic tile, then you're going to have a problem with breakage. So make sure that it stays the same thickness as the ceramic tile. I'm going to move this over just a little bit so you can see it better. And I'm going to now lay the template that I've already cut out on top of my slab. I'm hoping you can see the whole thing in the viewfinder. With my stylus, and it's okay to kind of press it on pretty good, you want it to stick. With my stylus, I'm going to trace lightly around my template. Very lightly. I'm using the stylus as a drawing tool, not a cutting tool. Once I've done that, I remove the template. Get all the excess clay off my knife. And I place my hand on my slab and start slicing by pulling the knife towards me. It's a plastic knife. It's not going to be harmful, even if you slip. And as I pull the knife towards me, I can start pulling some of that extra clay off. Now I'm going to be moving my plastic around so that I'm always pulling the knife towards me, not away from me. Now the shape that you picked out for your face might be completely different than mine. It's okay. As we said, African masks have very exaggerated facial features, and so sometimes the shape of the face is exaggerated also. So it's always better to cut just small pieces out at a time instead of trying to cut the whole thing at once. Okay, now as you can see, I've got all of the excess cut away. To make sure it's not sticking to my plastic, I'm going to put my hand on top of the plastic, turn it over, and carefully peel the plastic away from the clay, not the clay away from the plastic. I say carefully because I don't want that plastic to tear the clay. Now, with my clay facing down, this is the back, I'm going to very gently tap in the edges to make sure I don't have any sharp edges. Once it dries, this clay can be very sharp if I don't smooth out those edges. With my stylus, I'm going to write my name lightly in the back and put an A if it's A day or a B if it's B day. Kind of press that in. I'm ready to flip it back over now so that I can work. Now, I'm going to turn this in the direction so that you can see. I'm going to draw with my stylus where I'm going to put the nose, where I'm going to put the eyes, and where I'm going to put the mouth. And that's certainly not what they're going to look like, but just by putting that on there, I can visualize in my mind where everything's going to be. I'm going to actually set this aside for a minute. I'm going to turn it around so I can work on this part of my plastic sheet. You can kind of see the outline of my face there. And with my leftover clay, I'm going to press this back into the cookie shape again. And I'm going to roll another slab. This will be for the lips. Exaggerated mouth shape. I'm using a slab for the mouth also. Now, if you would like to, you can cut out a template for the lips. So I will be cutting out a shape out of what's left over of the mask. I don't need this anymore. So just taking the folded piece of paper, I'm going to cut out a half of a mouth on the fold. Now this is going to be probably bigger than what I need, but I can always cut it down. It's always better to make it too big instead of too small. And I kind of like that shape. So I'm going to lay it on my slab, trace around it. And as you notice, I'm putting it on the bottom part of my slab because what's left over there might be big enough for the nose. That way I won't have to roll out another slab. Slicing. Through the clay. Pulling the clay away. And this is the back of the mouth. So this is the part I'm going to be scoring. So I'm going to turn my plastic back around so you can see the face. And I'm going to actually place it on the face where I want it to go. Now I have to decide, it's got a little bit of a turn on it, so I have to decide, do I want it to go up or do I want it to go down? And I kind of like mine in the downward shape. And just like on the face, I kind of smooth out the edges just a little bit. I'm not really flattening it, I'm just smoothing out those edges, just slightly tapping them in. Now, excuse me, this is where slip and score comes in. I'm going to take my stylus and score the back. It's kind of like Velcro, I'm just like really scratching it up good. And where I know I'm going to put the mouth on the face, I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to really score it, scratch it up well. I'm going to stick my fingers in the water, get this real nice and wet. And I actually think I'm going to go a little bit further with the scoring here. More into the point. And then I'm going to attach the mouth on the face where I want it to go. Now, as I said, this is a really big mouth, but for African mask features, you want them to be exaggerated. And with my hand, I'm pressing firmly. Now, if I'm very careful, I can even take my rolling pin and just very lightly roll over it. Very lightly. You don't want to flatten it out too much. And with my knife, I'm going to kind of draw a line right down the middle to separate the bottom lip and the top lip. Smooth out the edges of the face. And then I'll be ready to start my nose next. So go ahead and get started on your face. Roll out your slab, smooth the edges, add your name to the back. Indicate where you want the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. Roll out a slab for the mouth and attach the mouth using the score and slip method. I'll be back with you for the nose and the mouth. The nose and the eyes next. Have a great time.